Hey everybody, um, Sam Dennehy, Halfass presents the podcast with another episode. Today's special guest is Bill. I'm gonna butcher this last name, so when he gets on, I'll ask him again. Fretchell, Fretchell, something. It's Bill Fretchell. I don't know. You know me and names. I'm super horrible, so it is what it is. I'll ask him what his name is, and then I'll probably forget it, and I'll just have him introduce himself. But yeah, he's our special guest for today. Pretty good modeler, 187 scale modeler. He's posted a little bit as of lately, to kind of remind everybody, of him and his building skills. They're pretty good models, and that's a reason why I wanted him on. But like always, I'll have a link in the description for his Facebook page, so you can look at his models, or you could just go in the 187 scale group, type in his name in the search bar up in the upper left hand corner, and it'll show all the posts he's put since he joined the group. And you can see all his stuff there, or however you want to see it. It's up to you. But anyways, that's our special guest today. So yeah, let's see what he's all about, and get inside of his head and let him tell us about himself a little bit, what he loves about this hobby. So stay tuned. He'll be right in here in a minute. All right, looks like it's recording. Hey, everybody out there in YouTube land. This is Sam Dennehy, aka Halfass Customs, and this is Halfass Presents, the podcast. Today's special guest is Bill Fretchell. Fretchell. Bill, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and how you got in this hobby?
Well, hi, everybody. I'm retired now, so I got more time for my hobby, but it goes way back as a kid. I started with model cars. I've always liked cars and hot rods. I couldn't wait till I got my own license and had my own car, and I was into all that stuff. I was always into cars. In fact, I was into it so much that even later years, after I got out of school, high school and stuff, I got in as a mechanic, and I worked in numerous dealerships working on cars. And, I was a certified master mechanic through the ASC, I did that for over 15 years, just in dealerships, plus, small garages and whatnot. And then after that, I got kind of burned out on working on cars in general. In fact, that kind of led me to not even liking cars, not enough to even, as much as I like hot rods and drag cars and everything, I couldn't stand working on them anymore. I got so burned out on it. So I got into motorcycles, and I've been playing with Harleys since the mid 70s. I still do that, besides there's another hobby I got. And I don't know, I always like doing stuff and working on things, but models were still always there, for me too. So later years after, I got married and had kids, that kind of, any spare time I got, I was doing that because that at least kept me home and I could do things, in the basement or whatever and still be around. When you got little ones at home, you don't have a lot of money to spend. I see guys in that predicament nowadays too. They want to do stuff and they can't, they don't have the cash for it either. It's limited. So, as I grew, I, saved stuff over the years and accumulate things and, work on stuff whenever I could. And then I got into model railroading. That's another big hobby I got. So I got a lot of HO trains too. But then, the HO vehicles is still part of that because I like building the cars and that. So that goes right along with the layout. So I got a lot of projects I want to do yet even. And like over the years, I sort of bounced around with hobbies. So I didn't always, you don't get to accomplish a lot at one time. I bounce around. Now, since I've been retired, I can put a little more time into stuff, So now I still kind of jump around, though. I was working on my trains and then working on some vehicles, and you're waiting on parts or little things, this and that, and you put a project away, and then you haul it out again, and start working on it again. So I do that. Like just recently, I posted a picture of that Willys that I was building at HO Willys at Stonewoods and Cook. It was trying to replicate that. I've been having trouble with
so far.
Yeah, I like it. It turned out okay, and but I'm trying to get the lettering and the decals. I was going to print my own, and I was kind of screwing around. There's a guy offering them on eBay, different scales, from 1/25th on down. So they're not the best. So you can tell he's done them with an inkjet printer. They're kind of crude, but they work. But he had such a thick coating on him. I just can't get him to lay good, you know.
Wow.
So I'm still playing with that. So I ordered another set. I'm gonna try another set once and try and get that thing done, buttoned up. And I got some other drag cars I want to build too, because that's always kind of been what I like the most out of cars and hot rods is just, you know, dragsters and hot rods, street rods and stuff like that. So I want to replicate that in HO scale, you know, even though there's really not a lot out there, you got to kind of make your own. So.
But you're talking my language, and we speak
Yeah.
the same, so I'm all down with it.
The biggest holdup now is trying to find some engines, you know, like HO scale engines and stuff with blowers on or injector tubes and, you know, headers and stuff. You know, there's not a lot out there. I got a few things, you know, and they need some reworking and touching up and stuff. And so I got stuff in the works anyway. And then wheels were another problem too, like trying to find racing wheels and stuff for HO. There's not much. I was buying front wheels for HO slot cars.
Right.
And you can get like slicks. Well, they're still even a little big for rear tires for a true HO car, because the road race cars are actually bigger than HO. We also call them HO, but they're like
right.
worth or something. But I've been able to find stuff to work with that, and, you know, make it usable and just kind of play with it. So you're kind of winging it with stuff, and I like doing it anyways. I like trying to improvise or make use of stuff that, you know, isn't readily available, to, you know, rather than just buying off the shelf and throwing it together. I like to try and come up with my own stuff. So.
Yeah.
And then
I just want you to know your hands over your camera, half of it.
Oh, sorry.
No, it's fine. I just didn't want you to watch this later on and be like, oh, why didn't he say something?
I'll switch hands there. I don't really guess the camera is there. And so anyway, then I got 125th scale models too, you know, so I got a slug of those things to build. And I like vintage cars, like 50s, 60s original stuff too, so I'm going to build some of that, you know.
You were talking my language. That's my time era.
Yeah. I like kit bash and stuff too, so I'm working on some of that stuff. Do you belong to any of the 125th pages at all, the model car pages?
Probably about 25 125th scale pages.
Okay.
And they're always doing something that I don't keep up with all of them. And then just like the 187 scale, when I first started it, there was only maybe 2 or 3 groups at the time, and now there's groups galore. There's probably like 25 different 187 scale groups, and I'm part of every one of those.
Okay.
But yeah, I'm part of a lot of stuff.
Yeah, that's good. Well, you know, you see different people that way too. Some you see on same pages too, like you know, you're on a bunch of them. You see other people show up on them. But, you know, it's like I belong to so many other pages because, like I said, I still play with a motorcycle, so I'm on pages with those guys, you know, and just else. So it's just like I got too many hobbies I need to cut down.
Yeah, well, it's good though, because it keeps your brain going. Like if you stop, you're gonna get a lot older, a lot faster, and you know, if you don't stop, you keep going, your brain will keep working and keep you, you know, moving.
I don't like to vegetate and just watch TV all the time. I'm always doing something, you know.
I like watching TV, but I'm always building a car in front of my TV.
You're doing something. Yeah, you're not just sitting in a lazy boy with your feet up. Yeah, you're doing something.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, you know, even the motorcycles too. Like I'm getting up there in years now. It's like I might just sell those eventually now, anyways, and do without that hobby because I don't travel or go on rides or nothing no more much. I just take it out for the day or something with my friends, a couple of people, but. You know, it's something that's just kind of going by the wayside. But I always like building old Harleys. You know, I used to work for our local Harley dealer back in the 70s, and back then, you know, they couldn't give them away. You know, but I just liked them. I liked them because they were American made, and they were just like the American cars. Everything was kind of laid out. Because I had Hondas and Kawasaki's and stuff before, but everything was laid out the same as American cars, and it's just kind of weird to do.
Did you ever watch that that I think it was a History Channel exclusive, the story of Harley Earl and Harley Davidson? Just the whole story behind it.
Yeah, and they started out with that.
Yeah, it was like a 6 hour thing, like 2 hours or something. I don't know. It was a really neat show.
Yeah, it was over a couple of nights.
Yeah,
I watched that. That was good. So, I mean, I've always been into that pretty heavy too since like 1976, you know, and I got 3 bikes right now. And like I said, I should get rid of stuff. I had 5 at one time, and I sold 2 over the last couple of years.
Did Easy Rider get you into it?
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, I thought those, I was like 16 at the time when that came out, so that was pretty cool to go to the theater and see that. Yeah, because that was all just coming in at the time, basically,
Yeah.
So, and like we talked before about the California culture, well, that was all part of it. It all started out there too, the choppers and all that stuff.
Right.
So I went through that little phase, through the 70s and the choppers and all that. But anyway, so I like working on those. Like I said, I got burned out working on cars and hot rods and stuff I didn't care for anymore. I like going to car shows, and I can appreciate what they have and what they do, and because I know it's all involved with it, And I used to paint cars and stuff as a hobby on the side for friends and people, and I got into painting motorcycles and all that too. But for myself, it's like, I just didn't want the car stuff, but the motorcycles were different enough I could play with them. And like I said, then once I settled down at home more, we had kids and that, then the models kind of came back in. I still enjoy that to this day. In fact, I even told a cousin we used to build models together as kids. We'd ride back and forth on our bikes to each other's house in the summer and sit in the basement all day and build models.
Oh, that's awesome.
I talked to him a while back. He says, when I started building model cars again later years, I said that same feeling just came back. It was just as much fun now as it was when we were kids. So
Yeah.
It was just kind of a weird feeling, but it was fun.
No, it is, because it brings you back to your youth. Brings you back to a carefree time where you were young and free and stayed up all night and did whatever you wanted as long as you didn't get in trouble. And
right. So I enjoy all that stuff, and I usually try to keep enough supplies on hand with this COVID and stuff. I heard of guys running out of supplies and glue and paint. It's like, well,
right.
I stockpiled enough stuff over the last couple of years to get me over the hump, so I just hunkered down and worked on stuff here and there.
Yeah. If that phone gets too heavy, you could probably prop it up on something.
Yeah, I wish.
But
I got
that's an awesome story. Because go
ahead.
That's an awesome story because I've been a car guy my whole life, and growing up in Southern California, there's a car show every single weekend, all year long, because summer all year out there. So I grew up going to a car show every weekend, every other weekend my whole life, and I love them. It's in my blood, and I've never stopped loving them. I've never been a mechanic, which I probably should have been because I could build my own car and fix the car that's on the side of my house. But I'm more of a driver and collector than I am a mechanic and a fixer.
Right. I mean, not everybody can do that and fix them either. It's just, I don't know. I always had a knack for fixing stuff, and even as a kid,
I just didn't like getting my hands dirty. And then, when you wear gloves, you can't feel nothing. You can't feel that screw that's in your hand or that bolt. And if you got to pick up a washer that's real thin or whatever, you can't even feel that. So it's like, I just didn't want to deal with it. And when I was in school in the 90s, auto shop, you had to take 2 years of book work first before you can even lay your hands on parts or a real car. And I don't learn by a book. I have to be hands-on, and they didn't have no exception. So I was like, screw this. I can't learn this way. If you can't put the part in front of me and let me take it apart and show me what I'm doing wrong or right, I'm not going to be able to understand it through a book because it doesn't do nothing.
Yeah, I've always been hands-on too. I got to do it and learn that way. And I always like doing things with my hands, and even when I'd work on stuff, when I was doing stuff for a living, fixing things, I'd take the broken thing off or whatever, and I always had to take it apart and see why it went bad. I'm taking the guys say, "What do you do that for?" Just put a new one on and get it out of here, And I was like, I want to see what happened. Why did it go bad?
Yeah, right, exactly. Because that can help you determine if you need to replace the whole part or if you just need to replace the whole thing.
There's a learning curve,
I mean, it makes sense. I'm totally with you on that. I feel like I would have probably done the same thing because, if it happened once, it could happen again. Yeah. And why is it happening if you can probably prevent it from happening the second time?
Yeah, I just always been a real mechanic. So, after I left my mechanic career, I just got burned out. Like I said on that, I got into a factory, and then in town here, we had a company here building garbage trucks and refuse trucks. So I did that for 19 years, building garbage trucks. But with my mechanic background, I got into the tail end of it, where we'd put the body onto the truck chassis. The company or whoever was one that was ordering this truck, they'd send the chassis to us from the manufacturer. We used to get Mack, International, everybody, Chevrolet, any kind of heavy truck. and then we'd put our body on it and hook it all up. So I had to, I did the wiring and all the hydraulic hookups and stuff on the thing to get the. So when we were done with it, me and my partner, when we were done with it, the unit was ready to drive out the door and complete. So I did that for I did that for 13 years. I was at the company for 19 years. I did that for 13, and then people started bumping around because they were downsizing with stuff and outsourcing and whatnot. So other guys were coming into our department, had more time in. I got shuffled around. So I ended up going on the assembly line where we had to weld the bodies. I did that for 3 years, welding, doing production welding 8 hours a day, And we had, wire feed welders and Miller welders. The welder was up to the side, and then the head was up on a cart so you could move around.
Yeah.
Whipping stuff.
Wow.
And we'd crank those things wide open and weld as fast as that thing could run, all day long. So I did that for 3 years. And then I got into experimental, and that was kind of fun because the city would bring their trucks in when they're done with the route, and we'd try different attachments and different things on them. Yeah, so I kind of learned all aspects of that stuff. And there's somebody out there right now, I don't know if it's at Radcliffe or whatever, they got a replica of a Leach garbage truck that a couple of guys had on there just recently on the HO page.
Probably.
It's a Leach body, and I worked for Leaches, and it's a real good replica of what they made, because I know those things pretty much inside and out. And a guy just had a red one just recently. He posted on it. I don't remember who it was, but I saw somebody had a green one a while back, a few months back or something. But yeah, they're identical to what Leach made. So who's ever casting those or whatever.
I think it's William Radcliffe.
Yeah, I think so too.
He does a lot of those commercial vehicles.
Good knockoff of those. They look real nice for like a more modern one, like 90s on up. And the only thing is that's got that type of garbage trucks going by the wayside these days because cities and municipalities don't want more than one guy in the trucks. Now they got these automated side loaders that go around with one guy running everything, and they get by with less people. So
and then they don't care if they make a mess neither because they're staying in that truck no matter what.
So anyway, that was, like I said, that was a whole learning experience too for 19 years, but I enjoyed it. It was for being in a factory, we were on our own, they left us alone. We did our job, and it was a good job. I liked it. The company actually got sold and moved to Canada. So that was out of work then. And I moved on.
Well, you're still pretty close. You're in Wisconsin.
Yeah.
Just drive up.
There's some of the guys did go up there, moved up there and whatnot to work, but it's like, nah, not for me. And, so anyways, like I said, the company sold to Canada, and then I ended up opening up a glass business with my son-in-law. So I was doing like commercial glass and going to new houses, do mirrors, shower doors, that kind of stuff. So I did that for 6 years. And then the housing crash came, so that kind of wiped that out. So I ended up closing the business down and got a job in the school system for a few years, just so I could retire. So I had a lot of job changes, and it wasn't necessarily always my choice either. So.
Right. You got yourself a nice little work history of
and I did a lot of
little
stuff,
things.
Yeah. It's pretty varied. I learned a lot over the years and did a lot of different things. Because like I said, working in a motorcycle shop, I was working in the car dealerships during the day, and then I go work in the motorcycle shop at nighttime till like midnight or 1, 2 in the morning, and get up the next day and work those all day. So I did that for 4 years working in the Harley shop, but the wife didn't like me being gone all the time. Like
I bet she didn't.
I ended up quitting that and just played with the motorcycles on my own.
Yeah.
But
I've never really been a motorcycle guy, but I thought if I ever got a motorcycle, I'd want one of those like rat rod, really stripped down basic motorcycles.
I wanted to build one even up to a couple of years ago. And now it's like, my years are against me now. I don't really feel like building nothing anymore. I'm getting kind of burned out on building. So
yeah, I don't know that I'd even ride it though, because I'm not a motorcycle guy. I don't mind looking at them and watching other people ride them, but I don't even like convertible cars. It's just too much wind in my hair. So a motorcycle would be much worse. Be wind all over my body.
Well, these days there's so many crazies out there too. So I don't know if it's good. But I don't know, I'm showing my age, I guess, too.
Well, no, that's cool though, because I mean, honestly, the same time period you like in vehicles is the same time period I love in vehicles. I mean, and because of that, I feel 100% that I was born in the wrong decade.
Yeah.
I needed to be a teenager in the 50s.
Yeah.
And I never wanted to go to war, so I would have had to, like, being too young to go to war. And I would have wanted to grow up on the West Coast where the hot rod scene was blowing up out there after World War II, because everything about the car scene in that time frame, I love.
Yeah, that would have been cool, right?
Yeah. And so, I mean, you say you're showing your age. I feel like I'm supposed to be a lot older.
Yeah. But I mean, like I said, I've always liked mechanical stuff and, the cars and hot rod stuff. It fits right in with my hobby now with the trains and all that stuff. Like I want to do scenes. As a kid growing up, I always remember we had a lot of gas stations in our town here, and it's not a real
Oh,
big
yeah.
town, 60,000. I'm in Oshkosh, Wisconsin, kind of in the central part of the state over on the east central. And the whole north, from between Milwaukee to Green Bay, it's like a whole corridor along there of, that's where most of the population in the state is, all the way along there because of the water and whatnot, lakes and stuff around there. But anyways, Oshkosh, the city was like about 60,000. It still always is about the same. But we had a lot of factories in this town, and as a kid growing up, with all the gas stations around there, everyone had hot rods sitting outside. Some guys drag raced on the weekends or whatever, and they'd have
That's
their car.
awesome.
They'd run in the shop at night to work on them, but during the day for customers, they'd have to roll them outside and park it off to the side.
Right, right. That's
And
cool.
I mean, that was all as a kid, we ride on our bicycle. We just go to these different gas stations and look at all the stuff and hang around them. And it was always fun.
Yeah. See,
So,
I missed that period of my life. I mean, growing up
yeah,
in Southern California is everywhere anyways, but there weren't like authentic 50s, 60s hot rods. They were, modern day
I
hot
was
rods
just
and
I
whatnot.
was kind of on the tail end of it yet. I was still lucky enough to be in on it, but it was kind
Yeah.
of
And then
disappearing interval stuff.
I think the bad thing is boycotting to really destroy the hot rod name by making these like
Yeah.
pastel, crappy looking dumb hot rods.
Yeah.
It got
Oh,
really famous for doing it too.
yeah. Some of that stuff was way over the top too. It's like
Yeah,
you couldn't even afford it.
right,
But
right.
even like the racing nowadays too. The pro drag racing stuff. It's just it ain't the little guy no more. It's
No, exactly. I mean, what's the fastest rail car like? 300
yeah,
plus miles an
they're
hour?
going 300 now in less
That's
than a quarter.
insane.
They're running 1,300 feet or whatever in less than a
Yeah,
quarter
the
mile.
G forces on that, it's got to be like air, jet fighter plane,
I remember
style.
one night I was working in a gas station by myself. I was still in high school, yeah, like my senior year, and I'd work from like 10 o'clock till midnight by myself. The second guy, another guy would leave at 10. I'd stay till midnight. It was a Friday night, and all of a sudden this truck pulls up, like a flatbed, and he had a AMX on it, a Javelin AMX funny car on the back end. This is back,
Oh,
like late 60s, like maybe around 71 or something like that. He goes, "Hey, you mind if I park here? Can I use your electricity?" I go, "Yeah, sure. I don't care. I'm there by myself." So he flips
right,
open the
right.
body. He flips open the body and he hauls out his tools and he started honing the cylinders out on his engine.
Oh, wow.
Engine was gutted out, and because they had big races the next day up nearby here, the track just north of us a little ways. It was a big weekend of racing, so he came up for the races and he's honing the cylinders out like 10:30 at night out in the parking lot in the dark.
Wow.
It was funny. I'll
That's
never forget.
funny. That's
Yeah, I'll never
super
forget.
dedicated to your
He
passion,
was all
though.
by himself. There was no crew or nothing. He was all alone.
Yeah.
It was just something I just thought that was pretty cool as a kid. And oh, that's neat. So,
Well, I'll tell you
yeah.
what, I think it's really cool knowing this little history about you now because it totally represents what you're what you're building in the scale,
Yeah.
because you like the hot rods and you're building that funny car and you've built these other cars that I've seen that I truly
Yeah.
think are really cool looking and admire.
Well, I got this one here. If I can hold it up, and I don't know if I can get it in front of the camera. That Burkina came out with that little red wagon, the Dodge A100, and it just had plain wheels on it. It was just a plain old Dodge A100 pickup, but it had the lettering on. Well, then I put a motor
Yes.
inside of it and put some slicks on it and had to dress it up a little bit better to make it look a little more like like a race car that it's supposed to be.
It's so
But,
funny that they made that look exactly perfect, just minus the
yeah,
wheels in the engine. Why didn't they go that little step further? Because
no,
they didn't sell that power wagon or whatever that's called, that truck. They didn't
yeah,
sell that with that lettering and that color in a dealership.
right,
A drag racer made that, put his own logo on it. So why didn't that company put the engine in the back with the right wheels?
yeah.
But
It
at
didn't
least they
look.
got that far.
Yeah, and I
So
wasn't nuts. I wasn't nuts about the color. It should have been that brighter red to me. But later years of the little red wagon, they did have a darker paint scheme on the real one. But so I
yeah.
think they went off of that. But Yeah, and then the engine I had in there I put in was it was out of that if you can see it or not, it's a blown Hemi engine, but it's out of that it's in that company. They make a die-cast dragster. I can't think now the name of that.
Is it Johnny Lightning or
What's an HO company?
oh,
I can't think of the name now. Lost the paper for it. They make a flatbed trailer and the dragster.
oh yeah. The JL something, I don't know. Yeah.
Anyway, so
It's like a hot metal die cast or something.
Yeah, I robbed the engine out of that to use in this.
Perfect.
I got to find more engines.
Yeah, yeah, we do. It's
start 3D printing them or something maybe.
Well, that market is coming up big, but we're still missing certain aspects of the hot rod custom world parts wise.
Yeah.
So as soon as we can bridge that little gap, we'll have all the engines we could possibly want.
Yeah. That stuff is just it's really come a long ways just in the last year or two, even this stuff. So
right.
It's taken off, so we'll see what happens. Because otherwise, before you had resin, that was about the biggest thing, and that's hard to work with and a lot of work to do.
And it's hard to get super fine detail because, like the exhaust pipes, for one, if you wanted, individual exhaust pipes coming out of the side of the engine, to resin cast that would have almost been impossible. But with a 3D printer, it is 100% possible now.
Right. Yeah, and even at first, like with the 3D printers, you had this stuff with the, the thread plastic, they call it. I forget now. Right, now they get the liquid resin, so that's the details really good. And that's
it's so much better. I was just building this. It's a 71 Monte Carlo, which is 3D printed off of a resin printer. I mean, I made it into a lowrider, but of course, lowrider paint job and whatnot. But
how you doing your custom paint jobs?
Oh, I'm not gonna lie, these are decals.
Yeah, but even still.
So basically, this, like for instance, this one is painted. I painted a silver base, and it's a thick silver, spray paint silver, because the resin print had these lines in it that I didn't want to sand down, and this actual model is super thin because it wasn't made to be 187 scale. So you can't really fix the body too much. You just gotta paint and put some thick paint. So either way, I put a silver base, and then I painted it white, just gloss white with rattle can white. And then I sprayed clear over it, and then I sprayed metal flake over it, because let me turn this camera around, because the other side of the camera the other side of my phone is better than this. We'll put some light on it.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. I like that. Like the little writer stuff is cool. That's a lot of work, even. People don't realize some of the work you got to put into that stuff. And
right. So there's a metal flake paint job underneath, on top of the white. I don't know if it comes through at all. But
not on my phone, but I'll have to look at it.
So metal flake paint job over the white, and then I laid the decals on. No, I spray clear over the metal flake, because the metal flake comes out a little bit grainy. And since you can't really sand this down without cracking the body, I said I'll just clear it. I cleared it like 2 times, and then got it as flat as I could, then laid the decals on, and then put more clear on it. And then once the clear was dry, I was able to get the chrome bumpers to come out, and then paint the bumpers and whatnot. But
it turned out really nice.
Yeah, and then this is the same car, just with a different kind of decal. So this is a black backed decal. So the design is sitting on top of black background. So in order to pull off that, you have to paint the car black, lay the decal down, but the decal, because it's on white decal paper, the edges will start to crack and peel. So you've got to cut the decal bigger than you need the actual design to be, and then you lay the decal down like you would normal decals, and then I take a Sharpie and then I outline the decal, and then I spray clear over it, because the clear will color code the 2 different colors of black perfect.
Hides it,
because every part of this decal had cracking all over it off the edges because of the white
Are
backing.
you print your own decals then too, or no?
Joseph Belivens is printing my decals because I got a inkjet printer. It's just not a laser inkjet printer.
Yeah.
So I can pull off 1/25th scale decals. Like I
Yeah.
printed this green decal off in 1/25th scale and it comes out perfect. But at this scale, because I mean, if you see the intricacy of these flames inside that pattern, my printer wouldn't pull off that detail. And because it's so small, you need a much powered printer to do that.
Yeah.
So the good thing about the hobby is if you don't have it, somebody else does, and you just got to befriend that person and say, hey, help me out, buddy, and then I'll help you out. So for instance, he printed 2 sets of each car. So one car is mine and one car is going back to him.
Okay.
So, and then he'll do all the printing and he'll do the decal work. Yeah. But then I get, what I need on the back end, and he still gets part of it too for doing all the work.
Yeah, that's good then. That's cool.
Yeah.
You did those 56 gassers or something too, didn't you, a while back?
I don't have not one 56 Chevy. I do have a 55 and a 57 Chevy gasser that I made. But John Tyson and a few others have done the 56 gasser.
Okay.
But you can only get that 56 from Sylvan.
Yeah.
He's the only one that offers that. And I just haven't bought that yet.
I want to get some of those too. Yeah, I think it was Tyson.
But I mean, yeah, I built 3 55 gassers and 1 57 gasser, and eventually I'll build a 56 gasser.
Yeah, it's kind of fun to do. Like I said, it's a challenge just to come up with the stuff because it's not just something you can just buy and put together. You gotta do it yourself.
Right. Yeah. Well, and that's the thing with having friends that can help you, because Joseph just printed the world's first 1/87 scale resin printed lowrider spoked wheels. And the spokes are individual spoked. His printer was able to make those a tire this big, which is super damn tiny for this scale, to have individual spokes in them. And it's like a 72 spoke rim.
Wow.
And you can see each spoke. Wow. And it's unbelievable that his printer was able to do that. So, you just know the people that you need to help you with, and you can get what you need.
Oh, it's something down the road, maybe. I'm not ready for that yet, but yeah. I got so many projects.
It's like a trade and barter thing. He's got the printers, and as long as he makes me some, I will build him whatever he wants.
Yeah, right. Yeah, it's fair trade for sure.
Yeah.
It's good to do it that way, and all my hobbies too. Yeah, I've traded and sent people stuff. They sent me things, or it's just how it works.
Right. That's how me and Mike Buddy got together. He I think came up with the 64 Impala wagon.
Yeah, that's cool too. I like that.
Yeah, and he took that off of just a regular resin 64 Impala from, I think, RPM 87, I think. The guy's in Europe, and he bought that, and then he designed the wagon roof, and I was like, holy crap, they make a 64 Impala wagon? And he was making them out of resin, and he was like, I'll help you if you want to help me. And I was like, done.
Yeah.
So a lot of my stuff is barter and trade, because I mean, I can pay for it, but why?
Yeah, if you can work out a deal, that's great.
Yeah.
Good way to do it.
In fact, the few RPS trucks, River Point Station trucks I customized, all I asked was for them to send 2. I'll build them what they want, and then I'll keep the other one so I can build what I want.
Oh, wow.
And I put way more money into theirs than the trucks cost. Yeah. But I had the parts, I have the skills, I can build it quick. So it still seemed like a fair trade, because I didn't really want to buy a truck for myself. So as long as somebody wants to trade work for, something, I'll put the money into it that way.
Yeah, I kind of would do that too. It's kind of fun doing it. So, and when you get done with it, you like to sit back and admire it.
And I know it's
anyway.
my build. You know, I built that. So even if I don't have it anymore, I have it in my photo gallery of all my vehicles I've ever built. And I can say, that's mine. I don't care who has it now, but I built it. It's my style.
Yeah, you can be proud of it, right? Yeah.
Right. And the crazy thing is, it's cool to know that you like the hot rods and you're trying to build some, you know, in this scale with what you can find and what you have, because there's not a lot of people building hot rods in this scale. There's a handful of us.
I found that out when I just started dabbling with it, and I started poking around. It's like, man, there's nothing out there, yeah.
Right, and I'll tell you what, there's people that have ventured into it and built maybe one, built maybe two, just to say, hey, I've built one. But that's not their forte. Their forte is commercial vehicles or whatever. So they've tried it. They were able to execute it for the most part, but they've never built another one because it's not their thing.
Yeah.
And when I came into this scale, I think 8-9 years ago, that's all I was building. Hot rods, customs. That was it. I didn't want to build anything stock. I didn't want to build any commercial vehicle of any kind. I was building custom passenger vehicles into hot rods and whatever. And I felt like I was in a world of my own because nobody else was really doing it.
Yeah.
Then nobody else was nowhere close to my talent or scale of building. So I was really kind of all by myself. And then only till quite recent, say a couple of years, people have shown interest in wanting to build them. And I'm willing to help them do it because I want more people to do it.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, so I'm glad that you're, trying to do it, and it seems to be working for the most part.
Yeah, I got a lot of plans and a lot of stuff I want to do yet. It's just making the time and sitting down and do it. Sometimes I get distracted with, family stuff, house stuff, whatever. Right. Even when I'm retired now, everybody thinks, oh, you got all this time on your hands. Well, you got other things too. You got yard work now.
Right. You got life. Life always comes first.
It's hard to just sit down for hours on end and do what you want to do. You can't always do that. And sometimes what I hate too is I'll get involved with a project and I got to leave it that day for whatever, and I might not get back to it for a long time, and everything's sitting there yet. Sometimes I end up with paint brushes dried up, and I think I'll be back at it in a couple hours or tomorrow morning, and it don't happen. So.
That was my problem when I was working in the office, because I work a 4-day shift, so I have 3 days off. You get really deep into something having 3 days off, and you're not finished. And you're like, crap, now I got to go work back in the office, working a 10-hour day. It takes 40 minutes to get there, probably an hour to get home because of traffic. And I'm not wanting to do nothing when I get off of work. So now I don't have nothing. I'm not working on nothing for 4 straight days, and my projects are taking way too long, and I'm losing interest in them because I haven't touched them. And now I'm working at home. Oh, I'm working on the clock, or I'm building on the clock.
Yeah, that's good then.
Yeah, I mean, when I go back to work, I'm going to hate life, though.
Yeah, right. Imagine. I know you leave a project, you come back and you sit there and scratch your head where you left off, and it's hard to just dive in.
And then because the cars are so small, you got a piece that's this tiny, and you're like, I had it right here on the table, and now it's not here. What the heck? And that's the one piece you needed the most.
I've lost more crap just recently, and I cannot find stuff, and I'll move on.
Right.
Yeah. I hate that.
Yeah.
So anyway,
it's crazy. But so you have other hobbies, but you said you also like HO trains, and that really ties into 187 scale vehicles. So do you have a train layout as well?
Well, that's in the progress too. I got sections of it kind of done, and others are still under construction and stuff. And I got a track that runs. I can run a train around and stuff. And I'm not big into so much running. Some guys, nowadays that whole market or hobby has changed too, where everything's ready to run. You buy it in a box, take it in and play with it right away. I like building stuff. So between building the train stuff itself and then the layout too, and structures and everything that goes with it, everything there is a model. You're building all these different types of models.
Right.
So you got to put houses together. You got to build trees. You got to paint people. Just all these different aspects.
And then electrical work too.
Yeah. Wire it all up and make it run. Well, everybody's into this DCC now with their trains too, which I'm not.
Right.
I'm not even going to go there. I don't. to me, it's just a gadget. A lot of guys like it, but these guys, they spend half a night fiddling around trying to get their train to run by pushing all these buttons, and programming it. It's like,
Right.
I'd rather be working on something, So anyway,
Yeah.
but yeah, and with my trains, I'm kind of stuck in the era like early '60s, So like some of the cars are geared and stuff for that era, whatnot, like a lot of '40s, '50s vehicles and early '60s stuff, whatever I can find.
Well, that's a good time frame too, though.
Yeah, it's just
So
kind of
that's
like goes back to my childhood kind of thing,
Yeah.
So I'm modeling Sioux Line, and that was kind of a transition era for them right around early '60s too. Some they had different paint schemes coming and going in there, so I've been doing both of that. And I made some transport trailers, kind of kit bashed. They were, I forget the brand name. It was a toy, for a semi trailer, transport trailer. I kit bashed a couple of those, and I loaded them up with brand new '61 Chevys. Go like they're going to the
Nice.
dealership. So I had to grind the hubcaps off the mini metals. I had to grind the hubcaps off.
Right.
I could just paint the wheels black or
Yeah.
red or whatever, and then put little window stickers in the windows and stuff. So that's kind of fun to do.
But even
like some of the race.
I was going to say, me and Mike Budd were taking those off and using the Highway Miniatures 1940 Ford kit. Came with a dog dish hubcap on one side and then a non-hubcap on the other side.
Okay.
So you can use it either way. And he casted a whole bunch of those in resin. So he gave me a whole bunch, you could just take those classic metal wheels off and put those on, and now you got a rim with no hubcap.
Yeah, that's a thought. Yeah, I kind of hate to wreck those, but it's the only way I knew what to do with them.
Well, if you wrecked one just to get the wheels, and then you can 3D or you could resin print them. Not resin print, but if you could just resin, copy them over and over again.
Yeah.
And then put the original ones back on.
That's what I should have done, yeah. So anyway, but even like my hot rods and stuff, some of the stuff is probably might even be a little bit newer car. Like Mike Buddy's got a lot of stuff. He's more, like in the late '60s, early '70s with some of his cars and stuff, and some of the muscle cars, Chevelles and all that. And it's like, man, I really like that stuff, but it ain't gonna fit in with my scheme what I got planned, So
right.
Murals and all that stuff. I like all that stuff. That's right in my era, but it's not gonna fit with my train layout that I want to do. So.
Yeah. Well, I don't have a train layout. I'm not really even a train guy, but I think if I were to have a train layout, it wouldn't even be a train layout. It would be a scenery layout with maybe one track going in the background of it. I don't need it in the forefront, but it would be present day because all the cars I build are stuff you'd see at a car show today.
Oh, right.
So so you would have to have like a present day, or the last 20 years present, or maybe even the last 30 years present day. So all the cars still fit on that layout. Like if you were to drive by a car show, you'd be like, oh yeah, all those cars. Yep. Makes sense.
Right. Yeah. And there's guys even doing that now. Yeah, too. Somebody, I can't remember what it was, they got a train layout, and the thing is just chock full of vehicles. If I don't know what era or year they're doing, but I mean, they got more vehicles. You can't even see the train. It's all city and roads and vehicles. I mean, they got semis and cars and everything else. I mean, it's they mentioned how many vehicles they got. It was like in the thousands, on this train layout, and
that's crazy.
They're more in with the vehicles than the trains. So it's whatever you're into. But the trains are like, again, that's a hobby by itself too. Besides the vehicle. I mean, I got a whole box of alloy forms I want to do and do something with them and paint and put them together yet too. I got plans for all that, but some of those I've been working for years, and before the mini metals even came out, alloys forms was about the only thing that you could get anything that was of a copy of a real prototypical vehicle.
I built quite a few of those. I like those a lot. I've always liked that company, and it's sad that they're not making any more vehicles. But I could manipulate that metal and do exactly what I needed to with it, no worries, and it came out perfect every time.
Yeah, like these mini metals, you can't really do much with them. It's just
that's real metal compared to this pot metal that alloy form was made out of.
Soft to work with.
Yeah.
So I got a bunch of that stuff I want to do stuff with too. I got plans for, and I just gotta. I've been getting I've been getting more done this past year than I have for a long time. So I'm just chipping away. Like I said,
I've even before I reached out to you, Facebook has the option where if you go to the page that you posted on. So like the 187 scale group, on the search bar up in the upper left, you can type in the person's name, and then it'll show everything they've posted in that group. So I did that with you because I remember seeing stuff from you a while ago, and then just of recently, you know, you posted more because you built more or whatever. And I was like, how far does he go back? And so I saw all your models. I was like, I remember that because you know how Facebook is. You post something in the morning, and by the night it's completely gone.
It's buried,
So yeah, I remembered the stuff you posted a while ago, and I remember the stuff you posted recently. I definitely want to talk to this guy because he got some pretty cool stuff. And you can't say that about some of the people that post on there, but I say there's two kinds of 187 scale people. There's builders, and then there's just collectors. The collectors have no trouble, you know, taking their car out of the package it came in and photographing it on their layout or whatever, and saying, oh, this is my brand new truck I just bought or whatever. But then there's builders, and most builders are collectors because you have to have a stash of cars for you to build.
Exactly, right.
But it's the builders that I like talking to more than collectors, because we share the same mind, we share the same passion.
You're thinking the same to do stuff, right?
Yeah, because I collect a car because I want to build it and make it different. Even if it's brand new out of the package, ready to go, ready to roll everything, I see the possibility of it being different and better.
Yeah, right. Even like that Willys that I was doing, that's, you know, it was a Sylvan Willys, 41 Willys, whatever, or 40 Willys.
He's the only one that makes that. There's no other company that makes that, unfortunately.
It's like, oh, I got to do that. You know, when it was I got it, I didn't want to post it yet. I wanted to wait till I was done with it, but I'm having trouble with it now. I'll just show where I'm at with it so far, you know. And I still got to paint the grill and the headlights and, you know, put windows in and stuff. But biggest thing is I want to get the decals on it first before I go any farther, you know. So.
Well, it's funny because as famous as that car is, it's not that famous if you're not into hot rodding.
You got to know about it.
Yeah, and I saw that paint job, and I saw those thin pinstripe outlines of those of the design and the logos and stuff. I was like, oh, nice. And I believe you're going to be the very first person to create that car in this scale. Like, I love being the first and building stuff that nobody else has done, but you're going to beat me to this one.
Well, back when I was a kid, we used to have a raceway in town, you know, for slot cars, and that was all road race stuff. You know, they had like an 8-lane track or whatever, and those guys would sit there for hours on them racing. Well, me and my cousin, we built a drag strip down in his basement for 125th scale dragsters.
Nice.
You know? So we were building them. So we'd take a model car body, and his dad, my cousin's dad, would go to the local weld shop and he'd buy a 16th inch welding rod, and we'd cut that up and solder it together and make our chassis ourselves. You know, we'd mount them on the back and put a plastic model car body on. So anyways, when the Little Red Wagon model first came out, I think it was IHC or no, I can't remember who made it. It wasn't MPC maybe that had it originally. Anyways, they came out. I got one of those right away, and I put it onto a slot car chassis. We took it down to the road race track, and I put it on their track, and I had a lead weight on the tailgate to help it do wheelies.
Oh, nice.
It had a swing. The pickup was on a swing arm, so that the front end could come up and it'd still lay on the track.
Right.
You know. But I had the weight on the back. It was shaped like a parachute on there, so you couldn't really tell what it was.
Oh, that's awesome.
So the guys were all down there, and I'm just, 12, 13-year-old kid, and I plugged in my controller, and I hit the button. The thing took off doing a wheelie all the way down there straightaway. They were all amazed.
Awesome.
Nobody had ever done that or seen that. That was a first.
I've never seen that, and I like cars. You would have figured I'd have seen something like that, but that's awesome.
Yeah, so I like doing stuff like that. I even got, let's show if it shows up on the camera here. I got my models here. I bought a 55 Pontiac Promo body, and I took the 57 Nomad roof. So I made a 55 Pontiac wagon out of it.
Yes, that is awesome.
That's a project I got ongoing. I primered it to see where it needs more touching up and sanding. So it's gonna be.
That's what primer's for. It shows you where you need more work at. Yeah.
I mean, that stuff's definitely easier to work on than
than a real car.
All that too.
Right.
Can hide mistakes easier, but the HO stuff is tougher to work with, and especially when you photograph it, and the cameras now, you blow the picture up so big you can see every little mistake on them.
Oh,
to the naked eye, it looked great. So it's just, you gotta.
That's what's great about the naked eye.
Yeah, there's a trade-off with how
Right.
you do with that because it's so small. You can't do it exactly perfect.
Yeah, oh yeah, exactly. I mean, none of my cars are perfect. All of them have problems everywhere, but it's how you manipulate it to make it
Yeah.
look like
And
it's
someone
good.
just walks up and sees it. It's great.
Yeah,
You're not going to go over the magnifying glass.
right. And that's what I tell people. I say, look, you might think my cars are awesome looking, but being the builder, I know where
No stuff.
everything is wrong on it, and I can't stand the fact that it's got all these flaws. Like I just finished this one today that I posted. It's like
Okay.
that '67 Mustang drift
Yeah.
car. So
Oh,
you
cool.
got twin turbo, a twin turbo, uh, turbo sticking out of the hood, and
Yeah.
then like a supercharger intake on top of the hood, and then it's got a huge ground effects kit. It's got diffusers. I mean,
Yeah,
it's
that's a lot of work.
it's a lot of work, and I don't like it at all. I hate the way it turned out. I think
Yeah.
I over put too many decals and put too much graphics on it, and the stance isn't right, and it just. But everybody else thinks it looks cool.
Yeah. Yeah. Right. Yeah, but going back to like you said, you like to make things different. You don't like them the way they are, and that's kind of what with that Pontiac wagon I was making. I always wanted to do one, and
That is an
after
awesome wagon. I had a '56 Pontiac, hard
no,
soft top. No, not
yeah,
a soft top, hard top,
well,
because it didn't have no post.
yeah,
And all stock. I loved that car. It
yeah.
drove so perfect.
You don't
I
see a
should have
lot of them.
kept it.
For years. I mean, you didn't see as many of them as you did like 55 Chevys or something, or 56 sevens, whatever.
Yeah.
Nobody had
Well,
them, but
that's in general. The Chevy outsold the Pontiac and
yeah, right,
the Buick by
yeah.
far.
So you don't see many of them around later years now either. There just wasn't that
Yeah,
many of
the
them.
body was perfect. The interior was really nice. The car was great. I should have kept that car, but you're young, you're dumb. So,
Well, yeah, me too. I had a '67 GTO when I was just out of high school. I wish I would have kept
oh, just out of high school, you had a
it.
GTO. Nice.
Well, I was going to mention that before too. Like I said, as a kid growing up and all this hot rod stuff, I was still riding my bicycle around. I didn't have my driver's license yet, and I had buddies around the neighborhood, and they all had older brothers. I didn't have an older brother, but they all did. Most of them did. And their older brothers were just getting out of high school. Some were going off to Vietnam, and other ones got jobs in the factories around. They were buying muscle cars right at the get go. 18 years old.
Man.
One kid down the street had a Shelby 500 Mustang, with
Oh,
a 429 or whatever was in those things, with a
jeez.
dual Hollies and a roll bar inside and that. And another guy, his brother had a Super B, Dodge Super B, and
Wow.
the whole neighborhood was full of muscle cars. These kids are all 18, 19 years old. Another guy, his
That's
brother had a
crazy.
'69 Judge, brand new Judge.
Wow.
That was pretty awesome as a kid seeing all that stuff brand new.
Oh, yeah.
Those days are just
And you didn't even have to live in Southern California.
right. Yeah, that was just our neighborhoods. Even it was just a
Yeah.
common thing. But kids could make enough money back in the days to go and take out a note right away for a brand new car, and they're making
Right.
decent to pay it off.
That's crazy. It's funny, like my genre and time period of cars is all of the 50, well, like 65 and older. So once you get into the muscle car era, I appreciate them.
Yeah.
I just, that's not my time era. I like them big old boats that don't really have that much horsepower. They're just slow and
Yeah. That's. I mean, I don't know. I kind of grew up with the muscle car stuff, but
right.
I like the older stuff better just because I'm kind of a history buff, anyways. I just like the older stuff. So.
Yeah. Well, the cool thing is, until you got into the 70s, most of the cars all look different every year. It wasn't
Right.
until you got into like the mid 60s where they started, every 2 years is like the same car for the most part.
Right. Yeah. You want to
But
spend money
before
on
that, they were different every year.
Yeah,
Which,
it was distinctive enough you could pick it all out
yeah,
and tell what's what. Yeah,
right.
I always think of that too nowadays. Yeah, and
I
now
mean,
it's getting even
today,
worse.
oh yeah,
Yeah,
today you can go 8 years, 10 years with having the same exact look on a car.
yeah, you got to try and look for a name on the car to see what it even is now because you can't tell what the
Right.
heck.
I mean, I think that fifth generation, sixth generation Corvette it had that same body style for like 20 years or something.
Yeah.
And then the Volkswagen Bug had the same body style for like 60 years.
Yeah.
So, but those are the exceptions. Every other car company or every other car brand changed, every few years after, the 70s.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I was big into that as a kid. I'd go down to the local dealership and grab a brochure even just to take home, and I'd sit down and draw pictures of them. Even mainly Chevrolets.
Right.
I was as a kid.
Oh, I'm a Chevy guy.
Yeah,
Through and through. GM guy.
Yeah.
I like the Buicks and the Pontiacs.
After a while, when I was working in dealerships, I didn't work for any Mopar, Dodge, or Chrysler stuff. But I worked for Chevy and Ford mainly. Ford, Lincoln Mercury, Cadillac, Oldsmobile. I worked for all that. And that stuff was all basically the same anyways. Under the dash, under the hood, it was all the same stuff, But
right. For the most part. I mean, they shared stuff here and there. I know. So on the side of my house, I have a 1960 Mercury.
Oh.
And it's got the wraparound front window and the wraparound rear window and the flat top roof.
Yeah.
But you think Mercury flat top? Really?
Yeah.
It shares the same exact windows as the 59 and 60 GM full-size vehicles with the flat tops. Because you can't get a replacement window for the Mercury no more, not in that year. Yeah. But if you look up the 59 and 60 full-size GM Chevys, you can find it. It works. Yeah, which is crazy. You wouldn't think, Ford Mercury mixed parts with GM, but they did.
Yeah, some of that stuff, I don't know what the reasoning was even at the time, but I know stuff, because they went to other manufacturers to get it. They didn't necessarily make everything themselves, so the company made it.
Maybe even the grill on my car, it's a 1 year only grill setup, the way they have it set up. Yeah. But if you take that off and you mock it up to a 59 Chevy, full-size Chevy Impala, Biscayne, whatever, it fits perfectly. Bolt pattern and everything. You don't have to modify nothing. You just take it off the Mercury and stick it on your 59. And that's what a lot of customizers do. They like custom or that custom grill look for their 59 Chevy. So they take the Mercury grill because there's no modifications you got to do.
It's just different enough to not be
factory. And it's definitely different because you look at it and you're like, this is odd looking, but it's just odd enough to be cool.
Yeah. That's pretty neat.
It's like a lot of those Mopar cars from the 50s. They weren't all that desirable back then because they were so odd. They were just too different. But today, that's what makes them so desirable and so cool and so, wanted. Is how different they are and how weird the body styles and the tricks and the different things they tried to do were back then. Because you can see a Chevy everywhere at any car show, driving down the road or whatever, 1950s everything Chevy. But to find a 1950s Mopar, not very often do you see that. And when you do, you recognize it and you're like, wow.
If there wasn't as many sold, and then how many survived even, so
yeah. Well, I think, for one, the Crushers, took a lot of them out. And then because they're full-size cars, I think a lot of them went to the derby tracks.
Oh,
so
that
they could get crushed while you were driving them because they're full-size. So they're safer than a smaller, Nova.
Yeah, we used to go there. I have an older sister, and she was like early 20s, at the time, and I was there was like a 12-year gap between us, but she'd take me to stock car races. All her girlfriends were there, and their boyfriends were all driving, and they're all racing. So
wow.
So she'd take me along to see the races. But yeah, you're right. They had all those early, 50s and early 60s cars that they were racing, smashing.
Yeah, and they were full-size cars because you couldn't get away with the 64 Nova because that thing's a compact car in that time frame, and that thing would just get smashed to pieces from a full-size car. So you had to have a full-size car in order to last longer.
Right.
So I think that destroyed a lot of the hope for the undesirables back then because they didn't like them either. So they were like, oh, it still runs. Let's just smash it up.
Even back then, it's like they didn't even think about saving the stuff or nothing. The stuff that did get by accident, that just got put away or hung on to, whatever,
I tell you, I'm a big wagon guy. I love wagons, especially from the 50s and 60s. And 50s wagons are hard to find, but GMs are out there. But you find a Mopar wagon, oh, it's almost impossible. Like all the Mopar wagons that are out there are completely restored and, posted on every, internet site for you to just Google.
Right. Yeah, my dad had a 57 Plymouth, that was a big old tank, we'd hang on the tailgate going down the street, with the window down. But, where I am here, most of the stuff just rotted away so bad that it didn't last.
Oh, yeah. But that's, I'm North Carolina, same thing. The moisture down here is so horrible that classic car scene's very small.
Yeah.
So
here they use a lot of salt on the roads in the wintertime here, and that eats smoke so bad,
Yeah, same here. Yeah. Yeah, this state sucks for old cars.
Yeah, it's a shame. But like I said, back in the days, people didn't consider or think about saving. It was a big deal for somebody to have a Model A from back in them days. It was so-and-so's got no Model A, he hung on to it. And that was about it. But
yeah,
they didn't save stuff otherwise.
Right.
Especially during the war years, everything got scrapped and used during World War II and that.
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, shoot, the car manufacturers even stopped production on cars to start building, tanks and bombs and gun shells and whatnot.
Right.
Because I know you could watch Barrett Jackson or Mika Auto Show, and sometimes once in a great while they'll have like a 50 or a 46 Chrysler or a 46 Ford come off the shelf, and those are like the highest money cars because it's during the war, it's right at the tail end, but they were still in the war, and they still built the car that was super limited because of the war.
To get a hold of them rare, oddball.
Yeah, I saw a 46 Chrysler convertible Woody.
Oh wow.
That thing went for like, I think $200,000-$300,000 some $1,000. Because it's during the war, it's a convertible and it's a Woody.
Yeah, a lot of that stuff they were just just as the war was coming down and getting out of it and stuff, the car manufacturers, they weren't even ready to make new cars yet. They didn't know what to do, so they were
exactly.
It wasn't until maybe 47 and something when stuff started to change and upgrade.
It definitely was 47 because you can look back at like you try to type in a 1945 Ford. It's going to be like a military version vehicle that you see.
Some kid asked on one of the pages too. He asked anybody made like a 44 Ford or something like that. And he told me, it's like, there was no such thing, kid. He wasn't around, so he didn't know.
Yeah, exactly.
Didn't happen. So anyway, I don't know. Anything else you want to know?
Well, so you, in your model train world, you're doing 60s and 70s?
Early 60s.
Early 60s. And then I guess...
I'd like to go later, but then I'd throw my whole railroad out of whack. So I'm kind of stuck with what I wanted to do. So.
And so your cars that you build are in that time frame too, right?
Yeah, and I'm kind of going a little bit past that era too, just because I like them. I'm probably not gonna have any Camaros on there. Maybe I'll build some and just won't have them on the layout because they ain't gonna fit in. They're be too new that guys would come over and maybe spot it. But I don't know. It's my layout. I can do what I want, I guess.
Right. Well, I was talking to this guy about train layouts. He was a model railroader, and that seems to be where this podcast seems to be going a lot lately because the 187 scale world is so much smaller that I'm running out of guests to talk to. And so this model railroader guy, I was talking to him about this, the normalness of model railroading. It's like you either build from the 1900s, so the steam era, or you're building 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s to present, but it's all the same thing, and it's all the realism of a real railroad, but nobody's building like the apocalyptical railroad or the sci-fi where there's flying cars and hovermobiles, and nobody's building anything different than the prototypical realistic look. And I was thinking for you, maybe a corner, like you could build like a time warp or like a wormhole kind of thing where you have whatever you want, modern or old or whatever,
That
and it
might
all
be
just
it.
kind of fits in this world section of your layout.
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
way you
Yeah.
could build other stuff that you do
Yeah.
like present, and it could, fit or not fit.
I know you get so wrapped up in the railroad itself that you get stuck in a time frame. Guys that are really into it. I mean, there's a lot of guys that'll just go buy anything on the shelves and run it on their train layout. They're not
Yeah.
specific, but once you start getting into the modeling and getting into the history of it, you're digging into it. You're painting locomotives and numbering them according to what the real ones were. I mean, I got a whole
Right.
book with every locomotive that my railroad had, and I'm modeling each particular one.
Mhm.
And some guys aren't doing. So anyways, when you're doing that, you're kind of getting stuck into a time frame with it, and so everything else has to kind of fit in with it too. And it's just,
Right.
I mean,
And
I
so
don't mind that, but
that's what I
there
was
is
talking to him about. I was like, I wonder why most people build like that. I mean, I know most people build in their youth. The time frame they build in was their youth,
yeah,
that they grew up in. Yeah. But I wonder why they don't step out and build things that they still like. Like, you could be a movie buff and love sci-fi, love horror or whatever, but if they're in their hobby, they stick to like one niche and they don't venture out of that niche.
yeah,
And I
right.
always wondered why.
Yeah, I never thought about that. That never crossed my mind. Even that's a good point. I mean, a guy could do it easy enough. It's like I said,
Right.
it's
So
their
so
layouting.
since your layout isn't finished, build a time warp tunnel that now the train went into this world where they got vintage, old, new, and maybe futuristic flying cars in it.
Yeah, because there is stuff I would like to do, and it's not going to fit there. So I mean,
Right.
you'd like to be able to have it out and so people can see it or display it. But
Yeah.
so I don't know.
I mean, because
What to think about.
like you said, there is things that you still like that would be neat to still build, but because you're stuck in that time period, you won't build it because of that. But this may allow you to do that, or just build like little dioramas. That's what I do, because I don't have a train layout. I just build dioramas.
Yeah. No, that's true too. I think if I was farther along with my train stuff itself, I could maybe do more of that. But I got so many other projects I want to do that I can't. Because I even thought about building like 125th scale dioramas. Some of the stuff I'd like to do. But
That takes up so much room.
Yeah, they do. Yeah, I see some
It's
of these
bad
guys.
enough just to build a car.
I know it. Yeah,
but then to build a diorama.
These guys do that. Yeah, one guy had a complete junkyard. It was hundreds of cars in his junkyard of 125th scale models. Like crap it.
And it's taking up a full-on folding table.
Yeah, right. So no, I won't want to do that. But anyway, I like doing that kind of stuff and building. I like to build a scene and diorama stuff. I like doing that too. But I figure I got so much to do on this railroad yet that I want to get done. And some guys with their train layouts, they actually pick out a specific area and model. I got a guy up here in Green Bay that's in our modeling stuff. I'm friends with him. I've been up to his house a few times, and he actually modeled from Fond du Lac, which is south of where I am. It's the next town south of here. He modeled from there all the way up to I think Stevens Point. He actually modeled the whole railroad in his basement.
Wow.
He's got models of the exact buildings. I mean, he had to condense some stuff down, but he goes out with pictures and measurements, and so he actually modeled the exact scenes of real life.
Wow. See, that's neat if you want to capture the history of that time period that you're modeling in. But I mean, if you're just building a train set to play with it, to work it, I guess you wouldn't have to be that detailed.
I wouldn't. I couldn't do all. I don't. I mean, that'd have to be my only hobby. Then I got too much other stuff I enjoy doing. So
definitely.
My layout, I got certain things in my layout that I want to have and do, but I can't. I got to cut the line somewhere and draw a line, whatever.
Right. Yeah, all my hobbies have been cars. I never got into boats. Never really got into trains. I have built a Back to the Future train because I have the DeLorean, and I built a hot rod switching engine. Cut the hood off and put this way oversized engine in it, but it's an HO scale engine. It's just for a much bigger engine. It made a hot rod engine with some metal flake paint on the outside and whatnot, but mostly it's all been cars. I don't build. And then, I got my modules back here, but that's for the cars to display on. It's not really
Right.
you know, my thing to build buildings and whatnot, but
Yeah.
it's mostly cars. I love cars. I've been a car guy my whole life, and that's all I
Yeah.
stick with.
Yeah, like I said, I could get more done if I'd narrow my fields down here. I got too much stuff I wanted to do and not enough time to do it all. You know? I don't even know
Well,
if
just real
I'll
quick
get that up
then,
in the future.
because this is about the modeler. You got motorcycles. You're a classic car guy. You got the train. You got the train scale cars. What other hobbies are you into? You don't have to get super deep into it. Just
Well, the 125th scale cars and two, and then plus I'm into guitars too. I got a
oh
bunch of
wow,
electric guitars. I like I've always liked rock and roll and music, so
yeah,
I
yeah.
started dabbling with. I had a guitar as a kid, but I'm left-handed, and that was always a handicap.
I'm
But
left-handed too.
really, oh,
Yeah. You know
big
what
hand.
that means? It means that we think with the right side of our brain when everybody else thinks with the wrong side. Boom.
Yeah, exactly. So anyway, I tried playing right-handed as a kid, like 12, 13 years old, and I couldn't do it. And I had nobody to help me, so I gave up on it back then. I remember I traded for some bicycle parts to my friend that was in a band. You know, we were in middle school, and he's in a band, and he was a really good player even then. You know, and that's, you know, all these bands, rock and roll was just coming in the late 60s, you know, and
Right.
all that stuff. So anyways, I gave up on it for a lot of years, and it wasn't until just later years now, God, the last 5-6 years, I just started getting into it. Another thing too, I used to go anywhere you go, you couldn't find a left-handed guitar. You know, you'd have to order direct from the factory or something. They just weren't popular. And I talked to music shops. Oh, I don't want them things around. Nobody buys them.
Right, it'll sit on the rack forever.
Yeah. And even the companies themselves, they don't make a whole lot in left-handed. You know, unless you were to special order something for like $7,000-8,000. You know.
Yikes.
So, anyways, with the advent of eBay now in later years, stuff is turning up on there. I mean, it's a smaller market, yeah, but there's a lot of them out there now. So I started picking up used ones, and I started plinking around, watching videos, kind of learning how to play and stuff. And then I noticed that mine were kind of out of whack, you know, being used. They were older and stuff, you know, maybe 10 years old or whatever. And I didn't realize that guitars wear out. So I started doing videos, watching videos on how to fix stuff, and I started fixing the guitars. I found out I'm better at fixing them than I am playing, you know. So I've been, you know, I've repainted 6 of them now just in the last 3 years. I'd strip them down and repaint them. And I've always liked Fender guitars. I always loved Fender Stratocasters, and even as a kid.
I think most people do.
You know, Eric Clapton, Jimi Hendrix, Stevie Ray Vaughan, you know, they all played
right.
You know, my heroes, you know. So anyways, you know, the frets wear out on them fairly easy. If a guy plays a lot, you wear frets out in like in a year or two. You know, if a guy's playing in a band every night or something, they wear guitars out. Well, these things I got, they were worn. So I ended up learning how to replace frets on the guitar and refinishing them, and you can get the neckage up.
What's the fret?
The metal, the metal bars all the way up on the neck. You know,
wow.
Where you press down on to get the different notes.
Yeah.
So each one the fret, you know, and they're made out of nickel silver, and they wear out. It's fairly soft. I didn't know that. I didn't know guitars wore out, you know, until I got one.
Well, I knew the strings did, but yeah, I didn't know the rest of it did either.
And you know, they need constant adjusting too. You have to adjust the neck. They have a slight bow to them. They're not completely straight.
Really? I didn't know that either.
Well, if you press down, if the neck was straight and you press down on a fret higher up, the string might touch a fret along the way then too. So it has to have a slight bow to keep it off.
Oh, that makes sense. Yeah.
It's only thousandths of an inch, but it's a, you know, you got to adjust it. It's touchy. So you know, I learned how to do all that crap just in recent years, you know, so I've been playing with that. Another thing I learned is Fender guitars in the early 60s, he was painting them according to 50s car colors. He had seafoam green
right,
and pink Cadillac. I forget the name of that pink that Cadillac had. The Fiesta Red with 57 T-Birds came in a Fiesta Red, so he had Fiesta Red guitars, and so I was doing that now too. There's a company over in Minnesota that sells guitar paint, and it's the actual car colors, but it's geared for guitar paint, for painting guitars, because it's a lacquer. It's a nitrocellulose lacquer, like old school lacquers. Nowadays, everything is, you know, if you can find lacquer at all now, it's acrylic lacquer. In the old days, it was nitrocellulose. It is derived from pine trees, you know, cellulose part of it. You know, it's highly flammable and stuff. And this company in Minnesota, there's one other one too. There's only like 2 companies that make guitar paint anymore, but it's true nitrocellulose, and they actually make it the old car colors. You know, they even tell you on there what your car was for. You know, that's early 60s.
Oh, that's cool.
Seafoam green and all these vintage. I did a bunch of those, and
That's awesome.
In recent years, I painted them in, some were like a sunburst color, but I painted them in, shell pink is one. I think Chrysler had a shell pink DeSoto or something back in the day. And,
Yeah, Packard had a pink too.
Yeah, it's just a real like pastel colors, but it's not a real
yeah.
dull. They're kind of subtle. They're just nice looking colors. So I kind of get into those 50s colors too. So I was painting guitars, and I sold a couple since too. Now I should sell some more because I got way more than to justify my level of playing. I shouldn't have as many as I do, but they're just fun. They're fun to work on. Again, it's another hobby.
Yeah, that's a nice hobby though, because I mean, like you said, for one, there ain't that many left-handed guitars, and then when you find them, you can fix them, and now you're giving it life to somebody else that is looking for one.
Right.
Like a circle of life kind of thing for the.
It's fun working. I mean, I'm looking at stuff on, if it's something pops up on eBay, I kind of look at it. So there's been no deals all through this COVID stuff. The prices went through the roof on them now because a lot of these guitars are coming out of China, and with COVID, nothing was coming out. All the shops, they sold out of what they had, the stock, and nothing's coming yet. So people are hurting in that field with stuff. So anyway, they're fun to work on too. But I last one I built was a year ago. I bought one. It was a brand new demonstrator guitar in the music shop, and somebody must have dropped it. They banged the paint all up on it. So I bought it. It was marked way down. A couple other guys were bidding on it, but I wanted to get it, so I ended up getting it. And a lot of the new ones are all done in polyurethane, paint, and they put a catalyst, a hardener in, so the paint's really thick and it's like plastic, So you got to take it out with a heat gun and a scraper and scrape it up. And then I stripped it and repainted it the same color as it was from the factory, but I did it in a lacquer now too, a clear shellac lacquer. And but that was the last one I redid now. And it's like, I don't want to do any more for a while of that. I'm going to concentrate on my models. I'm going to get back to that stuff. So, like I said,
that's cool that you have that hobby though. I mean, because everybody at time to time gets burnt out for a little while or a long while of the hobby that they're in. So they either don't do nothing or they find something else to do. So at least you have a couple of different ventures to go down when you get bored.
Like I said, it's almost too much, and it's stuff I really enjoy. So it's hard to just get rid of one of them, narrow stuff down. I enjoy them all, but it's like one takes away from the others, So
it does. But I mean, if you're not in a, if you don't work, if you're not doing this hobby as a job, then you're not under any certain time strength to need to have it done by. So you can do it when you want.
Like that. Yeah. Do it whenever
so that's cool.
Time a lot. So I enjoy it that way. I'm not getting burned out on it.
Yeah. I always thought I would want to be a drummer. I always looked at the drums and think, how cool is that they're using both hands, and then they're using their foot separately, then their hand for the bass drum, and then some of them have two bass drums, so they're using all four extremities, all different ways.
I don't think I
can't do that. Yeah, my brain can't wrap around moving everything separately. I admire them so much for doing it because it's so neat. But I did find something I do want. I want to have a big old bass.
Oh yeah.
Doing that bass, like an old vintage one. I would love that. I want to be in a rockabilly band.
There you go,
and just play the bass.
and that's, it's still something to learn, but it's a lot easier to do.
Right. It's a lot easier than four extremities moving to different ways to make music from.
But I like music as much as models. In fact, I always have the radio playing when I'm working on my models.
I'm huge with music. Huge.
Yeah, I love my music all the time. So.
I told my company, like, look, if I'm in a good mood, it's because the music was playing on my way into work and I was enjoying it. If something doesn't work music-wise, that I can't listen to my music, then I'm not in a good mood. Because music puts you in the mood. Like if you have to drive to work, put you in the mood you're going to be in for that day. If you listen to talk radio and it was very depressing and very boring, you're not going to be in a good mood. You just won't. Because being depressed and bored doesn't put nobody in a good mood. But if you're rocking out, or if you're bobbing your head, if the music is playing and everything is just flowing perfect, you're instantly in a good mood.
Yeah, right. Oh yeah, I always got all the years of my work, working in the car garage, we always had the radio blasting all the time.
Oh yeah, right.
Working in the factory, they let us play the radio. We always had the radio going.
So that gets you through your day.
Yeah,
it just does. I listen to music. Well, I try. I try to hide it when I'm at my business because we're not allowed to. So I try to have this little speaker, this little earpiece going through my clothes, and then I put my little I sit right underneath an air conditioning vent, and I've got this metal plate in the back of my neck from a surgery that air just sucks straight into the back of my neck and freezes my whole head. So I've never said this to anybody on here, but I wear an old lady bonnet style scarf on my head because they won't let us put our hood up like a hoodie because that's like a hat. And they won't let us wear anything over our head, but the women can wear a scarf over their head. So I wrap my head up like an old lady, and I wrap it around my neck, and then I try to tuck my earpiece in my ear so they can't see it. I listen to music because if I can't listen to music and I'm stuck in that building, I hate my life. But music gets me through it.
Right. Yeah, it's I like doing it. Like I say, I always got to play when I'm down here. I'm in the basement right now all this time. I'm in my work area here, so I always have the radio playing all the time when I'm doing stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, if you don't have a TV on, you have to have a radio on. It's one or the other.
I just like the background noise,
Right.
And then a good song will come on that you really like or something, gets your attention.
Exactly. No, that's 100% a definite key that you must have.
Part of it. So.
Right on, man.
Yeah.
This was a good talk. I enjoyed talking to you. You and I have a lot in common about cars.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah, there's probably more I could tell you too. I just can't think offhand.
It's all good. I mean, I kind of put you on the spot when I asked you, and we kind of did this real quick. So, I mean, there's always a second time if we figure out more stuff. I mean, the more you build, I'm going to probably want to talk to you about it because, hey, you're building what I like anyways.
Yeah, I want to do more. Like I said, I was painting some locomotives and stuff just recently. I got done with them, so I kind of wanted to get going on some more vehicles now. Like I said, I got a whole box of alloy forms I got to be put together and figure out what I want to do with them.
Well, I'll tell you what. I just told somebody else this, and I talked to so many people I forgot. But I think it's Malibu International that came out with a couple of those movie cars that they were selling at Walmart and whatnot.
Oh,
the $5 Walmart cars.
Yeah. I heard about it. I didn't.
They make this blue Plymouth Fury. I don't know.
Okay.
It's a blue Plymouth Fury, and it's a movie car from the movie. Oh shoot, what's that movie?
My mind went blank.
Shoot. But anyways, this car has skinny wheels on it, and the rim is a 5-spoke rim, and it's perfect for front drag wheels.
Oh, yeah.
Because the tire is so skinny, and then the rim has got that 60s style 5-spoke design. So you can find those on eBay.
Okay.
Because they're only on eBay now, or you go to a train show or a toy show that sells trains and whatnot, and people have those for like if they're open in a bin, they're like $1 to $2 a thing, and you got free wheels for drag cars.
Yeah, it's hard to find stuff otherwise. Like I said, I was trying to go with trying to find stuff from the slot car, HO slot car stuff, that would work. And I did find some wheels. Somebody was just selling. And I just bought some more now. There's a guy on eBay selling wheels made by Bush Company, and I mean it's a foreign company, but I don't know. They make the vehicles they all got, even Bush. It's BUSCH, and they got some truck wheels, and they actually look like mag wheels, and that's what I've been using like for rear mags with the slicks on. And then I buy front tires from the slot cars. You got to sand them down a little bit on the drill press. I spin them down and make them a little bit smaller because they're actually too big, but they're white lettered Firestones even. There was some Goodyears because they were like NASCAR tires they had for the slot cars. They had the yellow Goodyear writing it. I got some of those too. It's like, well, that yellow, if they were white, it would have been better. But anyways, I got a bunch of those Firestones. I'm using those for slicks. But it's hard to find wheels otherwise. But the Bush wheels was...
That movie was Tommy Boy. Tommy Boy with Chris Farley.
Yeah, I knew what you meant. I just couldn't.
Yeah. I'll tell you what. I believe John Tyson has got a design that he's creating dragster wheels because he's built a couple gassers out of a 57 and a 55 or a 56 or whatever, and he had his own tires and rims that he used.
I'll have to
So
keep an eye on him, yeah, because he's got some
yeah,
stuff on eBay, I know, for sale, hubcaps and wheels and stuff.
right,
He's
right. And I think
ready.
he now has a set of drag
Yeah,
racing
could
tires
be.
and wheels.
Yeah, that stuff is just, it's hard to find anything because there's really nothing out there. So.
Right. And I think his wheels are like $5 shipped or something. So they're
Yeah,
not expensive at all, but
I just bought one of those, he had those photo etched roof racks for station wagons. It was
yeah,
picked up.
yeah. I got that too.
Yeah, I don't know what I'm going to use it on yet. I got a couple of wagons from Mike Buddy, some of his leftovers, 61 Impala
Yes. I got quite a
wagons.
few of those too.
He sent me a couple of them, some of his leftovers. He said he was done with them or whatever. They need a little cleaning up. So I want to get at those too. And some of the stuff I look at, it's like, I don't know what color to paint them now. I want to do kind of original, but then I'm kind of stuck as to what color to make them.
Right.
It gets to be a
Well,
roadblock.
if you weren't stuck in that time frame.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, I could do some custom lace jobs or something. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, even if you did one color, you could just do like a root beer brown or like a flat black or, some pearl white or something. It doesn't have to be crazy. But yeah, they didn't have that back then though. back in your layout time frame.
Right. So yeah, I gotta figure that one out yet too.
You need to make a time warp tunnel. That's what you need.
Yeah. No kidding. You can do what you want.
Yeah, and maybe you only have like 2 feet of your layout with just everything crazy in it, but at least it allows you to still build something different and new.
Yeah, that's definitely an idea. Yeah. All right.
Right on, Bill. Let me send this podcast off, and then we can say our goodbyes if you're cool with that.
Cool. All right. Well, thank you.
All right. Yeah, definitely. Everybody, hope you guys like this episode. Bill's a super cool guy, at least in my opinion. I wonder why that is though. But yeah, super cool guy. I'll have a link to his Facebook page in the description, like I said in the monologue, so you can check out all his pictures that he's taken of his cars, or just do what I said in the monologue or in this episode, where you can just go to the page that he's posted and type his name in, and it'll post everything he's ever posted in that group, and see it that way too. Either way, I hope you guys liked it. I enjoyed talking to him, and until next episode, we'll see you guys later. All right, everybody, that was Bill. I'm not even gonna pronounce his name. I already forgot how he said it. That was Bill. A lot more information about cars and motors. When I mean motors, vehicles that have motors in it, than I knew. I didn't know any of that stuff going in, and that guy is awesome. True car guy, true motorhead. I mean, working on those dump trucks or those garbage trucks or whatever he was working, those commercial vehicles, and then working on real cars and then working on motorcycles. I mean, a true gearhead. And if you like these little cars, you have to be a car guy. So he's a full on through and through car guy, and I love talking to him. I mean, my arm's got hot rod themed stuff on it. I'm a car guy. I've always, you guys know me. So to talk to another car guy like that, I was at home talking to him, and I just wish we lived closer. He's all the way in Wisconsin. I'm in North Carolina, way too far away. But it'd be great if we were close. But yeah, I enjoyed talking to him. I hope you guys like this episode. Like always, I'll have the link in the description for his Facebook page, or you can look it up the way I told you in the interview or in the monologue. And like always, don't forget, if you guys want to help out. If you don't worry about it. I'm not begging for it, but it is there if you want to. There's a Patreon in the link description too. The link description. In the description, there's a link. God, I can't even talk. But yeah, check that out if you want to. And then look for the other episodes that come up right down here, down there. All right. See you guys later. Till next episode.